And a very pleasant welcome to you on another Cable Spotlight here from Greater Media Cable. I'm Chuck Gagliardi. It's always great to be with you. We're actually going to have a guest on today that we had on just a few months back. By popular demand, we had such a great reaction first time around that we invited the great Charlie Gracie back for a second show. And not only with the great Charlie Gracie, we have the great Charlie Gracie Jr. And gentlemen, it's really great to have both of you back on the show. And I really mean that, Charlie. We had such a tremendously positive feedback from our audience with the first appearance that you gave here in January. So we wanted to get you back, and we promised that we would because there were so many things that we didn't talk about initially with the first show about your career and about all your success. And how are things happening? Okay.
Everything's going well. Working hard. Always working. Thank God. You know, I always keep busy. I mean, I've been doing this a long time now, over 45 years, and the only time we have what we call a like a hiatus or a vacation is when there's no booking on that weekend. But, you know, we average 50 weeks a year.
Talk about keeping busy. Listen to this. Since his last appearance in January, toured England and Wales 2 weeks in January, nominated for the British Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, okay? He's going to tour Luzerne, Switzerland in May. There's been the weekly Friday and Saturday appearances at Pippo's in Southampton.
Right. And
also May 1st, an interesting thing, we'll talk about this later, Charlie's going to appear on the Raleigh James Show on WWDB, talk about the old days of rock and roll. You're going to be at Moores Inlet again, right, this summer?
Yes, this is our 18th consecutive summer down at Moores. We have a ball in Wildwood, of course. I've been playing down there since I was a kid, since 1957.
Yeah.
That's 41 years ago. That's a long time.
You know, the most surprising thing, I think, of your first visit was my learning that your great hit, Butterfly, actually financed the whole Cameo Parkway operation in many ways after that.
Well, I guess it's true. I never forget that day when, of course, the owner of the company, Bernie Lowe, was deceased now, and he was a very fine pianist, and he had great ear for what he wanted, you know. And he was a pianist with the Paul Whiteman Orchestra. I don't know if we talked about this last time.
I don't think we did.
Well, he was a pianist with the Paul Whiteman Orchestra. And when I won the contest on that show, like 5 weeks running, by the way, I won the family first refrigerator. Did I tell you that story? We thought we were millionaires. Well, we had an ice box before that, you know. So we won the first refrigerator, and I remember him playing piano for Paul Whiteman, who was a great name from the 30s and 40s. Well, anyway, to cut a long story short, when the rock idiom finally came into its own, he was looking for a tall, sexy, handsome Elvis Presley type. But I guess he couldn't find one, so he wound up coming to my house. And this is a true story, so help me. And he came to meet my dad and my mom. We lived on Pier Street, St. Nicholas Parish there. And he had $2,000. I got $2,000, said, Mr. Gracie, I want to start a record company. And we think your kid has a lot of talent. We want to record him. Right. And that's how Cameo Records started.
Right. And Butterfly went on to become one of the biggest hits in the 50s. And Charlie, you were mentioning that Andy Williams covered that song in the 50s also?
Andy Williams also went to #1 with Butterfly at about the same time. And only a few discs in record history, I think, have had that happen.
I think you told me. I think
Tab Hunter, I think, and Sonny James with Young Love, and I forget some of the others, but yeah.
Was there any resentment on your part when Andy Williams covered that thing?
Oh, no. I never forget, I was working at a place called the Cadillac Show Bar at the time. It was located at Broad and Hunting Park for Mrs. O'Boyle. She was a huge woman, great woman, tough, you know. And I used to play the lull. When the bands would come off, I'd go up and play for 20 minutes while the band rested. With the and I'd have more people dancing to me than to the band. And the guys used to get mad, hey, you little cocker, get out of here, you know what I mean? And when I recorded that song, it was December of '56.
Right.
And each time the band would go back, when I go in the back bar and watch TV, the Steve Allen show was on. I love Steve Allen. And he had Edie Gourmet, he had Steve Lawrence, Andy Williams. I mean, these guys were on 5 nights a week, coast to coast. And all of a sudden I hear, you tell me you love me. I says, we're dead. Well, you're dead, you know. I'm working a little joint, making $175 a week, and here's a guy who won 5 nights a week on network television. I said, well, nothing will happen. Well, as God's will be done, our record outsold Andy's, but Andy sold 1 million copies too. So we're talking like over 4 million copies of that record.
And you worked with him also on the Alan Freed program.
Yes, nice man, by the way.
Really, yeah.
Oh, wonderful guy.
I was astonished to find out that he did a lot of voice dubbing in the 40s for various movies, too. Lauren Bacall's voice.
Going My Way with Bing Crosby.
Going My Way. He also did some singing there. Did Williams hear your version first?
Well, evidently, because we had the original, and he was with Archie Blyer at the time, Cadence Records.
Cadence Records,
right.
Yeah. Sure.
And I guess they figured, well, let's, this thing look like it's going to be hot because the thing took off. Yeah. I mean, we recorded in December. By March, we had the #1 record in the country and in the world, many, foreign countries. And his version was a little different, had the finger snapping, hand clapping, which was nice because it made it a diversion. Yeah. But, that was the most covered record of its time. I think there was something like 10 or 12 or 13 cover records on that.
Yeah.
I can name a few off the top of my head. And most recently, I heard one by Narvel Feltz. You ever hear this guy?
Never heard of Narvel Feltz.
Great country artist.
Yeah.
And you know what? I like his version better than mine.
Yeah, but Charlie's, yours was the definitive
Yeah, I know,
version.
but I love it. It's got the fiddles in it. It's great. I really love it.
Were you surprised at the success of Butterfly in the 50s?
Well, let me tell you something, man. I'm a little kid from South Philly. I never thought I'd ever be famous or even, known outside of Philadelphia. Well, when I look back at it now, even although all these years have gone, it still seems like a miracle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
I never dreamt anything like this would ever happen to me. I really never did. Of course, was it Andy Warhol made that famous quote, everybody deserves 15 minutes of fame? Well, I had my 15 minutes. I'm delighted.
I think it's been longer than 15 minutes. Charlie has been actually entertaining people since the 50s. It's more than a 40-year career. You were actually doing things in the early 50s before Butterfly, too, right?
Well, yes. I began my recording career late 51. I was still in school. I was a kid. Speaking of that Paul Whiteman show that I mentioned earlier, this man was coming in from New York, had a record company called Cadillac. His name was Graham Prince. I'll never forget it. He was a Southerner. I think he was originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, y'all. And he had a little office in Broadway. And when he heard me on this simulcast, radio and television, I found a telegram the next morning that he wanted to record me. That's how I started my recording career. So I cut, I think, 4 or 6 sides with Cadillac. And the pressing plant was Ballon on Federal Street. And when I left Cadillac to try to move on and, progress in my career, I went with 20th Century, which was Ivan Ballon, who had the pressing plant and all. And I started building up a little reputation locally. I did the original Bandstand with Bob Orton.
Right.
I mean, I was on that show like in 1952, before Dick Clark took over the show, whatever the circumstances.
Did you perform live on Bandstand back then?
No, nobody ever did. It was always a lip sync.
Always lip sync.
Yeah, always a lip sync. Yeah.
Charlie, does he still have copies of those old recordings back on Cadillac?
Oh, absolutely. And they're worth like $100 a piece now, the ones on Cadillac.
Listen, when I recorded, they still made 78s.
Yeah.
I got them home. They're this big.
Let's go way back.
78s, yeah.
Well, that's interesting. 78s, 45s, LPs, and now compact
The whole
discs.
gamut.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I ran the whole gamut.
Chuck,
Charlie,
I congratulate you I want to congratulate you for having Charlie Gracie on your program. You said that many people were surprised at, his credits and what have you over the past 40 years. When the Philadelphia music scene is often reviewed, they spend a lot of time on the teen idols, which is fine. I mean, they deserve their glory, too. But really, that music had very little to do with rock and roll and R&B, where Charlie Gracie is probably the one true rock and roller from that time period that puts us on the map. So I think you deserve that.
And the other thing, too, I mean, it was very difficult in the late 50s, 56, 57, to supplant Elvis Presley
you kidding?
as the #1 recording artist in the country. And Charlie achieved that feat with Butterfly.
Well, I always tell that story. I said, I knocked Elvis out of the box for about 4 weeks.
Really, yeah.
He went to Vegas. I went to Wildwood. I've been there ever since.
Well, 2 things that you have in common. You both had #1 hits, you and Presley, but both of you guys appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, right?
Yes, I did the Ed Sullivan Show, which was at the time, I guess, the pinnacle of show business.
Yeah.
I was on with some great stars that day, and I was in awe of them.
Yeah. Well, we have a clip from 1957. Charlie Jr., you're going to set this up for us and tell us all about this. This is when Dad was on the Ed Sullivan Show.
The date was March 10th, 1957. You had Will Chamberlain, another Philadelphian on the program, Henry Fonda, Senor Wences, the Ray Bloch Orchestra, believe it or not, backed you up on this. Ben Blue. Yeah.
And one other guy we left out, Don Amici.
Don Amici was also on the program.
Could you imagine being on the show with these guys?
It's a major league talent, let me tell you. Okay.
And you'll love this hairdo that you're going to see.
And this is Dad doing Butterfly, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Early Mohawk style.
We're going to run this clip of Charlie Gracie, 1957, on the Sullivan Show next on Cable Spotlight. Please watch.
Fly over with somebody new, but I'm crazy about you. You butterfly, blue eyes, you're making me cry. I made up my mind to tell you goodbye, but I'm no good without you, you butterfly. I knew from the first time I kissed you that you were the trouble. Cause the honey that dripped from your sweet were tasting of my. I love you so much, I know what I'll do. I'm flipping your wings, you're flying us through. Cause I'm crazy about you, you butterfly. Much. I know what I'll do. I'm clipping your wings.
That's some mean picking there, let me tell you, Charlie. You butterfly. Amazing that that footage actually exists. Obviously, it's copies of copies,
Right.
but how did it come about, Charlie?
It came via Britain. I think the BBC did a series a few years back called The Rock and Roll Years. And
Yeah.
Of course, that is still a big star in England
we're
today.
going to talk about that in a second.
And had
too,
more
sure.
charted hits in the UK than he had here. So they include him in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great footage, it really
Yeah.
is. And I wish I could get a copy of that myself. That's
Yeah,
just
it's
marvelous, let me
priceless.
tell you. Okay, we're going to talk about those years in Britain in the 60s and the 70s. And Charlie is revered there as a rock idol. And we're going to talk why that happens and continue, of course, with the theme of how Charlie really, I think, never got the proper due in this country as he did in England in our next segment. So keep it right here with Charlie Gracie Jr., Charlie Gracie Sr., and this Charlie Gagliardi right here on Cable Spotlight. Okay?
You tell me you love me, you say you'll be true, then you fly around with somebody new. But I'm crazy about you, you butterfly. You tell me you love me, you say you'll be true, then you fly.
And welcome back to TV 66 Cable Spotlight, our second segment with the great Charlie Gracie, Butterfly, Fabulous, all the great records of the 50s, and Charlie, of course, the local legend here, and certainly one of the pioneers of rock and roll in this town back in the 50s. And the year 2001, Charlie, it becomes actually 50 years since you first made a record, right?
It's amazing.
It's
I don't-
amazing,
I
it
just
really
don't know
is.
where it went
Yeah,
to. It
yeah.
goes by. You know what? I think when you're busy
Right.
and you enjoy what you do, just time just flies.
And it's got to be a kick for your son, too. I mean, now your dad's success obviously came before you were born, Charlie.
Yes.
But, I mean, it had to really be exhilarating for you to go through the files and the archives and come
Well,
across all the greatness
You know,
that
my
your
mom,
dad
my sister, and I would
had.
travel with Dad on the road when
Right.
we were younger, so we were around show business all of our lives. In a
Yeah.
sense, we're kind of a showbiz family, I suppose you'd say that.
Well, I always, my family always came first for me, you see. Sometimes opportunities may have arisen over the years that I shunned because my family came first.
Right.
That's very important to me.
How many years are you married, Charlie?
My wife and I are married 40 years.
God bless you. It's
Joan
great.
and I, yeah.
That's tremendous.
And we
It
have
really is.
Charlie, of course, and we also have a daughter, Angela.
Wonderful, really
Yeah.
wonderful. We were talking in our first segment, actually last show we were talking about how, I had mentioned on the air, I never thought that this country gave you proper due in terms of your place in rock and roll history. But I mean, in Great Britain, here's a guy that's nominated for the British Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, influenced George Harrison of the Beatles, and I mean, so many great artists. Oh yeah, I mean, just you're revered in England,
Well,
right?
you know, as I'm getting older in years, and the last 10 years especially, these guys are coming out of the woodwork. For instance, I was working at a place in Wales, and as a matter of fact, I had DJ Fontana with me, who was on the road with me, playing drums for me, Elvis's old
Elvis,
drummer.
yeah.
Drummer,
Little all-star show. And we were having dinner in this beautiful hotel in South Wales, and I saw this guy looking behind like plants, like a movie, you know? Little short, stubby guy, balding, you know. I thought the guy worked there. So I said to the owner, I said, who is that guy? He said, that guy loves you. He's a big fan of yours. I said, well, tell him to come over to the table. I said, what's his name? He said, Van Morrison. I said, get out of here. I said, you got to be kidding. Oh, yeah. So he wouldn't come out, but after I got to my room, he says, could you come down? He wants to just talk. We sat there for about, and I drank coffee with the guy, and I hate coffee.
Right.
I must have had 6 cups of coffee, and I went through the whole schmear. And he said, Charlie, when I was a young fella, we're about maybe 4, 5, 6 years apart.
Yeah.
I came to watch you. You know, he said, you inspire. I got in the show business. I mean, that's one guy. And you get Crosby, Stills, and Nash, Graham Nash.
Yeah.
He's got an old Camel cigarette butt of mine that I threw out in 1957.
Wow.
And in his wallet. I mean, you know, this is mind-boggling, right?
Yeah.
We went to see a show about a year ago, right here in Philadelphia. What was the name of that place?
At the TLA on South Street.
Ray Davies. If you ever get a chance to see this guy, he does his autobiography. Fabulous.
Right.
If you pardon the expression.
Yeah.
Just him and the guitar player. Well, I'm sitting there, I don't know, I never met the man in my life, and all of a sudden he goes through his life story, and he mentions Charlie Gracie. Well, I almost fell through my socks. I figured, this guy doesn't know me. Went backstage to say hello. I just stood there and waited till he finished talking to a few folks, and he went. You know, I mean, and now this
there it was.
This is happening more and more, you know, which, you know, it's kind of embarrassing, but it makes me feel good because I figure, well, if I don't get the recognition one way, God has a funny way of working things out.
Yeah.
You get it sooner or later, you know what I mean?
How many times have you played England through the years?
Oh, I lost track, 20, 30, 40.
Really,
God
yeah.
knows.
You go back every year, a couple times?
Just about every year, yeah, sometimes 2, 3 times. And then we also worked Holland, Belgium, Switzerland, Italy, Germany, Finland. I mean, all over Europe.
Well, as we mentioned, that you're going to be touring Luzerne, Switzerland in May, and 16 European tours since 1980. And I guess Harvey had mentioned this. Harvey Holiday had mentioned this.
Oh, by the way, Harvey Holiday.
Great guy.
The best.
One of our all-time favorite people.
I love Harvey.
Where are you, Harvey? We missed you.
Yeah, where are you, Harvey?
Harvey had mentioned that one of the big things between this country and overseas is that it's basically what have you done for me lately in this country.
Well, yeah, yeah.
But you're respected for your body of work over there, I guess.
Well,
huh?
you see, you got to remember one thing. I'm a musician.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of the guys that, you know, that became famous were mostly singers. But, I mean, I am a musician. I mean, this is my first love is my guitar. I play guitar, banjo, bass, string instruments. So when you come to see me perform, I just don't sing my 3 or 4 hits that I had. I mean, I run a whole gamut of guitar boogie, honky-tonk, things like that, do my own solos. And so you see more or less like a double-barrel performer. I don't just sing, I play.
How difficult is it changing the act, Charlie? I mean, how often do you change it?
Well, when I go there, I don't change it hardly at all. You know why? Because they're purists.
Yeah.
They want to hear it play the same way you played it in 1957. And that's tough because you, in your mind, you want to sort of progress, you see.
Does it ever get tired singing Fabulous or singing Butterfly or anything?
Well,
like
yeah,
that?
occasionally it does. But you know what I say to myself? As long as those people ask me to sing it, that means they still want to hear it.
It's got to be
when they stop asking.
Thousands of times that you've sung these
I
songs.
wish I had a buck for every time I sang Butterfly, Fabulous, or 99 Ways. I love you so much, you know, it's Wandering Eyes.
We mentioned George Harrison, really very heavily influenced. Did you ever get a chance to meet any of the Beatles?
I never met the Beatles. I never met the Rolling Stones. I've met Van Morrison and Cliff Richard and the few guys that I mentioned. But once again, you see, when I went to Britain the first time, 1957, next to Bill Haley, who was one of my idols in this group, I was the second American to bring rock and roll to that island. So consequently, all these kids who were 4 or 5 years younger than me all came to see, who is this Charlie Gracie, you know? And even though I never met them, as you said earlier, this one kid, George, mentioned me in the beautiful write-up, the trilogy write-up, that he thought Charlie Gracie was a brilliant guitar player. Well, you know, once again, it sort of makes you turn red. I never knew this guy even knew who I was. You know, it's amazing, isn't it?
Sure it
and
is.
I never met the man in my life till this day. I'd love to.
Well, we got a sample of Charlie's great guitar picking in the first segment. We're also going to show a clip this segment. Now, Charlie set this up for us. This is from Vienna, right?
This is from Vienna, Austria, last June. Dad was touring with Tommy Sands and Freddie Cannon.
Tommy Sands still around?
Yeah, great. We had
Teenage Crush. I remember.
We had
Tommy
so
Sands,
much fun.
Sands,
I mean, they're nuts. Both of these guys are nuts. Freddie Cannon's a nut, and Tommy's a nut. And my wife and I were in stitches. We were there for about 6, 7 days together. It was wonderful.
My oldest brother traveled around with Frankie Avalon years ago. Well, you know Sonny, of course.
Yeah, an excellent guitarist, by the way.
Thank you very much. And Freddie Cannon was on tour with him, and Sonny had such great stories to say about Freddie Cannon.
He's a nut.
Really?
I saw, yeah.
Funny guy,
I mean,
huh?
Oh, I mean, he's a real yenta. He don't stop talking. He's a cacaron, as we say that.
How are those guys perceived overseas? Freddie Cannon, Tommy
Well, they
Tommy
love
Sands?
all us guys. You know, hey, listen, you know, especially us guys from South Philly. You know what I mean? Don't forget, we used to hang on the corner. I got my back prints are on the bricks where I used to hang when I ate the Morris. You know, now we're in Vienna, we're in Paris, we're in Amsterdam, and I laughed because whoever thought, you know, whoever thought. I thought I was going to be a number writer like my cousin.
Charlie, what do you think of all the talent that came out of South Philadelphia? It's amazing. It really is.
Some of the nicest people in the world, and we have represented South Philadelphia to no end. I mean, all the guys are wonderful. God bless them all.
In a
I'm happy
very
for all of
positive
them.
way, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, Charlie, set this up for us once again now from Vienna.
All right, again, this is Vienna, Austria.
Right.
This is on an island in the middle of the Danube River. It was a 3-day pop festival. You had the Supremes there and Dad and others playing at different times,
Yeah.
of course. So I think you're doing a Fats Domino song. This is
I don't really know.
Blue Monday, I think.
Oh,
Blue
really?
Monday, okay.
Yeah, so
All right.
some nice guitar licks.
Here we go. Charlie Gracie from Vienna, Austria, in 1997, 40 years after Butterfly, the first clip, right? There we go. Really good stuff,
We
yeah.
were cooking that day.
Cooking there. Good guitar playing, too.
Of
Really.
course, the audio is not the way it should be, but it gives you an idea.
No, it really, you can see. And yeah, it looks like you still get a kick out of doing all this stuff. all
Well,
the
you
time.
know, I still look forward to going to work at night.
Yeah.
I mean that honestly, so help me. To me, whether I've said this 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, whether I play for 60 people, 600 people, or 6,000, or 60 million, as I did on the Ed Sullivan Show,
Yeah.
I go out there and I sing and play my heart out.
What was your greatest thrill with all the appearances that you ever had?
Oh, jeez, that's a tough
Lady
question.
Orchestra?
I guess, well, I guess the Ed Sullivan Show has to be one of them.
Right.
Because, I mean, that was, at the time, if you did that show,
Sure.
you were made at that point. But I would say when I played at the London Palladium and the Hippodrome, and my father, God rest his soul, and my manager, Bernie Rothbard, sat in the back and cried their eyes out
Yeah.
when
Big
they saw
football,
me that
yeah.
night. And when I saw that, I started. I'm a very emotional
You
person.
can see
you know.
Charlie's very moved right
It's-
here.
it's,
Definitely.
you
Yeah.
know.
Bernie
All
has
right.
since passed
Yeah.
on too.
Yeah.
Bernie Rothbard. He was
Bernie
a
Rothbard,
great,
yeah,
great
great guy.
man.
It's
Yeah.
quite
Great
a thrill
agent.
for me to see them being thrilled, you see.
Okay, we're going to hold it
Yeah.
here, okay? We're going to come right back. We have a final segment. We'll talk about what's happening now in 1998 with Charlie Gracie, and really a rock and roll legend, really one of the founding fathers of rock in this city, and certainly in this country with great hits like Butterfly and a little bit of Fabulous. We never really talked too much about that. That was almost as big a hit as Butterfly in many ways, right?
Number
Yeah.
16.
Number 16, yep. Okay, here's Fabulous, and we'll be right back with the fabulous Charlie Gracie.
Well, I always knew I was crazy.
There's a college near Pueblo, Colorado, where consumer information catalogs train hard, so they're quick enough to respond instantly when you call 1-888-8-PUEBLO, and helpful enough to list topics like saving money, getting federal benefits, and staying healthy.
Sure, I'm hard on my catalogs, but when you call, I want you to get the best free listing of federal publications in the world. Hut to
So make the call, toll-free, 1-888-8-PUEBLO.
We are in the middle of another terrific program with really a gentleman that's become a good friend of ours, Charlie Gracie, from the old rock and roll great days in local Philadelphia music, and Charlie Gracie Jr., his wonderful son. Charlie Jr., you play musical instrument?
No, but I sing, and according to Dad, I sing pretty well.
Got a great
so
voice.
Once in a while, I get up.
Did he help Dad in his act at all?
I do his PR.
Yeah.
I get him up to sing once in a
Yeah,
while.
I sang with him last night.
Yeah, last night we were at a nice little
Reluctantly.
spot in on Chester Pike at Domenico's.
Yeah.
My buddy Don. We had a nice crowd. The whole local Mars came to see me. They're wonderful people.
We mentioned that Charlie is really one of the biggest names in show business over in England and in Europe. And Charlie, you mentioned that you are appearing locally at
Yeah.
Pippo's and some of the other places. Any other stops in this country that you've actually are
Well,
doing?
we got a big concert coming up in Reading,
Right.
the 21st of June. That's one weekend when I have off down the shore, so I booked that thing. And we're going to be at Eladio's New Year's Eve, which is right here on Passyunk Avenue.
This New Year's Eve coming up?
Yeah, we got that booked already.
Okay.
And of course, we're down at Moore's Inlet for our 18th consecutive summer.
Right.
Beginning Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day. And let me think now, off the top of my head.
And you're going to be at the Oldies concert.
Oh, we're going to
coming
do
up for Oldies
the
98,
court
right?
stage
Our
thing.
good buddies over at WOGL, it's their 10th anniversary.
That's right.
So we want to
yeah.
wish Harvey and Tommy McCarthy and Rockin' Ron Cade
All
and
the
Don
guys,
Cannon,
yeah.
all the great guys,
That's right.
High-Lit. Starring Bill Haley's Comets, Charlie Gracie, the Delphonics, the Spinners, the Times, the Orlons,
Oh.
Dee Dee Sharp,
Amazing.
Dream Lovers, and many
Amazing.
others. And many others.
Amazing.
Charlie, we have a few minutes remaining. Do you still stay in contact with a lot of the old friends like Freddie Cannon and Tommy?
Yeah,
Simmons, people
occasionally
like
we
that?
do. You know what it is? We're always working.
Yeah.
You see, I can't sit home.
Yeah.
I have to work, and I love to work, so I'm always working. Occasionally we run across each other, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But most of the time, everybody's busy, man. You know, thank God, at our age, we're still working. It's
Does
great.
it get to be a grueling thing? I know you've traveled so extensively, so much.
Well,
over the year.
occasionally, let's face it, we're human beings. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get sick, you have a cold, like right now, I'm just getting rid of a cold. You go out there, you cough, and you sing in tempo. You know what I mean?
We do want to spotlight some of these great discs here. This is Rock and Roll Giants. This is the newest one, right, Charlie
Yes.
Jr.?
Yep.
Okay.
That's from Holland.
This from Holland. Butterflies on here.
Very
Gotta
reminiscent
Travel
of
On.
the Sun Sessions, that kind of rockabilly
Yeah.
feel.
Rockabilly,
It's the old Billy Grammer hit, Gotta Travel On, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff here. My Babe, is that the old Ron Holden number?
Yes.
My baby don't stand no cheating, my baby.
And how about this one, Charlie Gracie live at the Stockton Globe?
Yes, that's one of the
Very
rare,
rare.
performances of any rock star, I guess, from the 50s.
Long Tall Sally's on here, Tutti Frutti, Flip Flop and Fly, the old Big Joe Turner hit.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
He
Joe
must have been a
Turner.
gas Joe Turner.
I love
huh?
Joe
Boy,
Turner. What a
guy.
great artist,
yeah, it's
man.
a shame.
Yeah.
He died penniless, too, right?
Well, I guess most of us will.
Very best of Charlie Gracie. Rockin' and rollin', of course, Tryin', Doodlebug, some good cuts on here, Pretty Baby.
Right. That's an
Because I Love
Italian
You.
import, believe it or not.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
2-volume set.
and this here is, it's Charlie Gracie, it's fabulous, and of course the big hits, Butterflies on here, fabulous, and your favorite record of all the ones you cut, Charlie?
Not my favorite
Yeah.
is a song that was originally recorded by the Hilltoppers called Trying.
Yeah,
My wife loves that song, and I do too. I thought we did a nice version of it.
yeah. Your
Great
favorite.
song, yeah.
Well, Charlie, you are a real inspiration, I think, not only to our audience, I mean, but certainly to younger people that might be thinking about getting into
Well-
show business. Here's a man's career that spanned more than 50 years, almost 50 years at
Almost.
this point. Really a legend in England, and when will we find out about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in England?
Well, I guess if I get enough votes, I'll let you know. If I don't, you won't hear from me.
By April, we should know.
And we do want to push the Philadelphia Music Alliance, too, to start considering this gentleman for his plaque there on Broad Street. I mean, very well deserved,
Well,
it should be.
Just let me say this in closing, Chuck. I'd like to take a minute to say to all those people over the last 45, 46 years that have come out to see Charlie Gracie, whether it's a nightclub, whether it's an outdoor performance, I appreciate it very much. My family appreciates it very much, and it's been a joy to me.
Yeah.
As long as the people out there still love Charlie Gracie, that's the Hall of Fame for me. That's all that
The
counts.
people still love Charlie Gracie. I know that because, as I mentioned at the top of the show, and I'm going to end the show the same way, we did receive a lot of feedback from people telling us how much they enjoyed seeing you, and in fact, I'm going to invite you back down a third time because I want you to perform next time.
I'd be happy to.
Bring the guitar in. We'll get Charlie to sing with you, and we'll have some
As a
fun.
matter of fact, I just want to say thanks also on behalf of the fellas in my little trio. Richie Bertino, South Philadelphia boy, been with me almost 20 years. Freddie Kahn, a New Jersey kid, been with me almost 20 years. They're great guys.
Bring them in. We'll do a little
why
session.
not?
We'll have some
yeah,
fun.
if
Okay?
they have time, I'll bring them in.
Okay.
If not, I'll just do a solo, and you could sing bass.
I promise, okay? We use the old stomach
Yeah.
for the kettle drum, I think, here, okay? Charlie Gracie, rock and roll legend, our special guest again on the Spotlight today. Always a pleasure to have you here. I mean that,
Thanks,
Charlie.
Chuck.
Good luck, and
Thanks for having me.
thanks for,
I
for
appreciate it.
so many great hours entertaining me
God
through
bless.
the years, too.
Thanks.
Charlie, it's always good to see you,
Thank
too,
you.
and
Fun to
I want
be
to thank
here.
this gentleman.
Lots
He's
of
actually
fun.
coordinated a lot of the stuff the last 2 times around, and we'll do it again later in 98,
Thanks.
I promise, okay?
Thanks very much.
Thank you for watching. Charlie Thompson, Tina Gade, our producers on the show, along with Dave Schwartz. I'm Chuck Gagliardi. Be good to yourself. Take care. And we're going to close out, I think, with Butterfly one more time. Good number.
You tell me you love me, you say you'll be true, then you fly around with somebody new, but I'm crazy about you, you butterfly. You treat me mean, you're making me cry, I'm made up my mind to tell you goodbye, but I'm no good without you, you butterfly.